Good evening, everyone. It is March 14th, 2022, and this is our pre-meeting. Welcome. And I don't see any questions, so are there any before we go into our meeting? Agenda items?
I just have one. There was one with the IGA with Highland Hills, and was wondering if there's any benchmarks that we could put in there to make sure that staff keeps it on the horizon to look at every 5-10 years or so. I didn't see that in there, but.
And I also had a question on that same item regarding the traffic impacts, and instead of hunting to after the thing is built and operational, to have to identify some type of performance or trigger, so that there's clarity with the community as to what would trigger analysis. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Lance Johnson, Parks and Golf Manager. Councilor Emmons, just to answer your question, we don't have anything in the document that does state that, but I think we heard you say that twice now. I think we'll just kind of keep that in front of us. I think we all realize that letting IGAs go without reviewing over a certain period of time has not been a good idea. So we'll just keep it on the radar as far as staff goes. I think between the number of people we have looking at it, we can keep track of that.
Okay,
so
perfect.
I pledge we'll just take care of that.
Awesome, thank you.
And let's see, Councilor Namella, I think the traffic mitigation, I know that Highland Hills has already met with Heath Klein today, I think even. So they're working on that. I think there's going to be a lot of different parameters once the new facility opens that they'll be able to gauge how that's going to look. Mr. Klein was pretty confident that there wasn't going to be a huge impact, but obviously until the facility gets open and they see how many people are actually using it, they're just going to have to evaluate. So we do have some traffic mitigation that Highland Hills is committed to. If we see in the IGA, if we see that there's some things come up and they pledge to make sure that they're going to, try to remedy those the best they can. So
they'll have to go through development review, right?
that is a question I cannot
I know
answer.
if I'm staring at Dave Downey, but yeah.
I certainly would expect that to happen, yes, Councilor.
Okay, and that would require them to have to do some type of community meeting. They're not having to change their zoning, or do they? If it's more of a commercial.
Should not be a zoning change, but yeah, we would require a neighborhood meeting.
Okay.
And I don't know about a traffic impact analysis if we need a formal one, but during the review process, that's when we would certainly look at any traffic mitigation that might be necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Baker?
Yeah, which way did we go? Which way did we go? Are we going to take 22 years worth of 50-50 split?
To answer your question, Councilor Glaser, no, we're going with the 50-50 split. So we have, I guess, as we kind of look at a savings account that we have, that Highland Hills owes us $556,000. So we have committed, our parties have committed to doing a very major upgrade of Carol Butts Park. So at a minimum, we'll have our 556 that Highland Hills owes us. They will contribute another 556. They'll put in the first 1.1 million of that project to Carol Butts. Anything over that 1.1 million, then we'll go to our 50-50 split. So we will have I think we've committed in the IGA to have a plan in place by September of 23, and that we'll act on that plan and have the construction started for the upgrades to the park by December of 25.
Okay. I just thought 22 years was a better deal.
Anyone else? City manager report.
Nothing for pre-meeting, Mayor. Thank you.
Council reports. We had OB write us about wanting to do a backstage pass for auction at Rotary.
What does that mean?
He said somebody would have, well, Rich, you're a Rotarian, tell us.
Oh, this is for the roast. It's would be one of the silent auction items where a highly perceived value of hanging out with us at dinner and in the pre-meeting. So I think the minimum bid should be well above 500 pesos. I don't know. But yeah, it was just, we're trying to get fun stuff for the roast. So someone could, it'd be their behind the scenes look at council and, it goes for casa. So it's a good thing. So
That's fun.
I don't know, maybe we could do a mock argument that night. Oh, no, never mind. We do that anyway.
Why mock?
Why mock? Just set up a good one. We'll have-
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I think that would be great if we could just create a mock argument.
No food fights though. That's just the regular. So that was something that would be a silent auction item that someone could bid on, because there's things that they bid on for dinner at the firehouse, canine ride-alongs, taser class.
Oh,
Yeah, that's well, and then you always get some willing participant to get tasered. So that's entertainment. We could do that as part of council.
I was gonna say, how many council members have you got tased?
I watched.
Yeah.
I chose not to and have a brain.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, so that was the ask on that. It's, even if we got $25, $50, it's just, there's no cost to it, so it's a flow through to CASA.
So instead of this coming from a counselor, should it be from the entire council package?
Yeah, we can do a council package. Yeah, that's what it'd be, city council behind the scenes. Yeah. We could spruce it up somehow.
Yeah, staff could, if council's willing, wanting to do this, staff can work this up and have a little bit of fun with it.
Okay, yeah, it's good money for CASA. Yeah. good call.
Everybody okay? Obi, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Anything else? I will share out in the big meeting tonight, but I did have a conversation with Deputy Manager Dorr and our recruiter that we are going to get into a contract with. And as you know, I've asked for at least an hour, what days you would be available, so I can get that to the recruiter. And I'd also like to ask everyone, and if you want me to put it in email so you don't forget it, I can do that after the meeting tonight. I need 2 business type people, community leaders that you would also recommend, but I need the name and a phone number, because we can't have them trying to search for phone numbers. Make it easy on them so they can contact. And I will send those on to him also. So they're trying to do the preliminary, and then after he does all of that, we'll have a meeting together again to start moving forward. I will share the timelines that we have. They will be putting this on the internet, on our website, so that people can track where we're at and what we're doing.
Is that two apiece?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
If we have too many crossovers and we need more people, I'll send that out.
An email would help.
Okay, I'll send an email after I get home tonight. Anyone else?
Report in here, inclusivity board. I met with them. I had sent notes to you all about some questions they had, and to Jody, some things they wanted to hear about since they had come and spoke on the water rates and the desire to have something across all tiers. I shared that with them. They always give me time to do a council report. So shared with them what was passed. They had all these questions as far as like some of the things that we have to offer for people who are having need for assistance. And they asked specifically around who had bills over them from COVID when we weren't doing shutoffs, which I know staff has been working with those folks, but we could get specific actual details back to them just so that they have it. Then they had also asked about ways that the city could help attract a grocer in the historic part of Westminster where we have a gap after having multiple grocers leave. And I know that's something we've talked about multiple times, but they wanted to understand kind of the process around what things a city can do in order to attract them. So I know oftentimes with that group, staff will come and give presentations about how different processes work. So that's probably a good opportunity to tell them how we attract businesses and different tactics that you use. The other thing to note that they talked about was that whether or not they were going to come back in person, and it sounds like they landed on a hybrid approach. So they're going to, at least part of them are going to come back. And I know staff is working with them about what that might look like to be able to provide remote for folks, because they moved over to Teams from Go to Assist, and it seemed like it relatively went smooth, but some folks had some trouble. The only other thing I have is about the Rocky Mountain Roundtable, but I'll share that out there during comments.
I've been participating in the every other Friday CML lunchtime legislative update. It's a big group, so I don't know who else all is on there. But this last week was midpoint in the session, and they're expecting more bills. But right now, CML doesn't track a whole lot different than our staff does, so there isn't any competing on there. It's most cases it's about making sure that any asks don't violate home rule or don't add any unfunded liabilities. And so in those areas, it's been pretty calm so far, but they're expecting some bill dumps here in the next couple of weeks. So it'll get crazy here.
It's been too silent.
Yeah. Election year too, so they're trying to work on some bipartisan bills, and that'll move through. But yes, CML team is on top of every single one of them. So it's too big of a bill folder to discuss, but you can always click on their link. Yeah, nothing stuck out that I had to bring forward because our staff would grab that.
Well, did you want to mention the one bill that we're completely different
On CML?
Parking, municipal parking.
Oh, well,
CML has a different stance than we do.
yeah, well, no, it's the same stance. The same is that they don't believe the municipal bargaining for municipal employees. CML believes that that's a violation of home rule and city ordinances. So I don't think we've taken a different stance on that, other than we've made the choice to make that determination. But CML is against it because it's a mandate for cities. So versus choice. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, in about 5 minutes, we will be having Cindy McDonald come. Tonight is the youth recipients that were nominated, and only one of them will be with us tonight. 2 are moving on into the county next level for the awards. But tonight we have one person with us, and I think the person that nominated. And so they're just going to come in about 5 minutes, and we will adjourn this meeting so we can meet our winner and get to know them before the meeting.
We're just going to do that out there then? Okay, very good.
Anything else for anyone? Okay. See you on the dais at 7. And is Obi on? Welcome to tonight's meeting of March 14th, 2022. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. with liberty and justice. Roll call, please.
Counselor Baker.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Present.
Counselor Emmons.
Present.
Counselor Azadi.
Here.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
Counselor Nermella. Here. And Counselor Seymour.
Here.
Do I have a motion to approve minutes? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the February 28th, 2022 meeting as presented.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass or approve the minutes of February 28th. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to a very special time tonight. We have a couple of,
Mayor, I'm sorry, before we do that, can somebody do a motion to handle Counselor Azadi's remote participation?
sure. Counselor Seymour?
I move that we approve Counselor Rosati's remote participation in this evening's meeting.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Counselor Azadi's remote participation tonight. Can we do that with voice vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard, Counselor Azadi. And we now are moving into presentations. Every year at this time, we have a special time when the Adams County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Award nominees are held. We contact our local schools, and it takes very special people that know our students in our schools that take the time to write. And I'm so happy we have one of those people with us tonight, because if it wasn't for them, our students wouldn't get recognized. And this award that we have are for those that are nominated through the program, and it's at the municipal level. There's another level at the county level. They're being recognized for overcoming adversity and creating positive change and achievement. And one of the person that's here tonight, Mason, after graduation, Mason will be attending Washington Square Career Technical Education Program in Thornton. One of our other persons that couldn't be here tonight is Isabel. She'll be attending Colorado State University, and Neverly is attending Hofstra University. So 3 wonderful young people that will be recognized by us. But tonight, like I said, Isabel is not able to be with us tonight. And Nyrili isn't able to be with us, but she's moving on to the county level competition. And Mason, who is here with us tonight, joined me down front, and he is moving on to the next level. So come on down. And his mentor for sure. Okay.
Star. I am Murray Hoffman. I'm a counselor at Washington.
And she is a star in my book, because this doesn't happen without people like her that recognize students that shouldn't have to go on a journey that they've gone on, but have overcome and take charge and figure out, here's where I'm headed, and you go for it. And if it wasn't for people like you, we wouldn't be able to say thank you. So we want to say first thank you to you for taking that time, and to the other folks that wrote these for the other 2 people. We're thrilled. But Mason LaRusso, for being selected as the 2022 recipient of the Adams County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Award,
and for showing outstanding courage and determination in overcoming major obstacles in your life. Signed, Nancy McNally, on May 14th, 2022. I told you didn't have to speak, so you can decide.
Well, I'm going to speak. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
I'm just going to stay in place because we have another proclamation, except I don't have the names. Can somebody read us our names? During COVID, we had 3 people that kept us alive and well in this community for our workers. And are wanting to say, I don't see, oh, here they are. We're recognizing a proclamation because they gave significant contribution, and that is Dr. Erickson Tentori, Brett DeMoy, and Tony DeMoy. Their injury care associates in occupational medicine for their service to the city, and especially the city's sworn commissioned first responders during COVID. And I wondered why we had so many firefighters and officers in the crowd tonight. That's unusual. Not that we don't love seeing you, but that is unusual. I thought, is something going on I don't know about, and should I be afraid? But no, they're friendly foe tonight. And so would you 3 please come down so that we can recognize you with a proclamation tonight? Thanks for keeping us going.
My name is Brett DeMoy. I'm the president of Injury Care Associates. Eric Tentori.
Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic drastically impacted the city and its staff and the ability to provide vital city services almost 2 years ago today. Whereas the city's partnership with Injury Care Associates and Occupational Medicine provided the city with an invaluable resource to transcend the effects of the pandemic on key city staff. And whereas in recognition of the service to the city of Westminster, Dr. Erickson Tentori, Brett DeMoy, and Tony DeMoy, and whereas the thorough medical evaluation, testing, return to work assessments, and providing of personal protective equipment in an effort to keep the city sworn and commissioned first responders, as well as vital water and wastewater plant personnel, resilient and functioning during the pandemic. And whereas the efforts of Dr. Erickson Tentori, Brett DeMoy, and Tony DeMoy were of paramount importance to our community and the safety of city personnel. Now, therefore, I, Nancy McNally, Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim appreciation to Dr. Erickson Tentori, Brett DeMoy, and Tony DeMoy for their service to the City of Westminster, and request my fellow citizens to recognize Dr. Erickson Tentori, Brett DeMoy, and Tony DeMoy for their significant dedicated service and contribution to our community. Signed the 14th day of March, Nancy McNally. And I would say, with all of those people back there, you are loved. Thanks, everybody back there, for being here. And it is okay for recipients to go ahead and go if you don't want to sit through the meeting. We understand. That brings us to public comment. We don't have any voicemails or emails, so anyone, or do we have anybody signed up?
We do. We have 7 people signed up to speak. Are you ready for the first speaker? The first speaker is David DeBoos. I apologize.
Good evening. I am David Debus, Dr. David Debus, that is. I'm a Colorado native, Denver native, moved to Westminster about 15 months ago, and sadly almost regret doing so. And I'll get to the reasons why in just a moment. But first, continuing on that piece about kudos, Kate, who works, I believe, in the city, I don't know what her position is. Her customer service is exemplary. She's always responsive. She's always clear, concise, really appreciated. Anne is also one of your code enforcement officers, our code enforcement officer, again, stellar. She has really helped clean up the entire shopping center located near 72nd and Sheridan, formerly known as Albertsons. Now it's an Ace Hardware. Thank goodness we recruited them, and Planet Fitness and several others. You also had or have an Officer Goslin who used to work with, I believe, either the Parks and Rec Department. I'm not sure if he was a regular street officer. I'm not sure his role, but he used to help coordinate the homeless issues within the community. Oh my goodness, I'm only on their objections and a minute's gone. And the Westminster Police Department, who most of the time are very, very responsive, very, very helpful, and very, very resourceful. 4 issues. The first one, the first 3 are actually fairly short. Tagging. I'm having a really difficult time navigating the district's or the city's system for reporting tagging. It is a despicable mess on Federal between 88th and 90th, where there also were several homeless encampments that finally are gone. But there are many, many other areas around the city. City hours. I'm a little perplexed why a growing city like Westminster would have 4-day work week for its employees. Granted, 10-hour days, but it's really frustrating when on a Thursday night at 6:01, you cannot get any help or resources, generally speaking, until the next Monday morning. Question? Oh, until the next Monday morning at 7:01 or 7 o'clock. Number 3, Old Westminster versus New Westminster. Part of the reason I moved up here is to assist various family members, which I'll get to in a minute. I have several family members in the new Northern Westminster and several of us in the old part of Westminster. I believe there are many, many issues, that there is a very, very imbalance of services provided. A couple of quick examples: street lighting, patrolling. We've emailed and asked officers to please come and patrol more often. We've invited them to Spanish Oaks area. We see them up at the park once in a while, but we'd really love more presence in our neighborhood. Open space, which we'll get to. Street cleaning. It was a really difficult concept trying to get street cleaning, yet at my mother's, they get it a couple times a summer. An example is responsiveness. We have had a camper parked on West 73rd for over a month. It's tagged. I walked over today. 3/9 was the day it was supposed to be towed. I called it again. I called in again today, and they said, "Oh, well, that's just a ballpark. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll tow it on that date." It's been there for over a month. The main reason I'm here is the unsheltered and the homeless issue in the open space between our condominium complex of where do we live? Of Spanish Oaks, and where my great aunt and uncle live at the retirement village of San Marino, that big open space. I pulled a few definitions off of open space, and again, there are a plethora of definitions. One says open space means any parcel or area of land or water essentially unimproved and set aside, dedicated, designated, or reserved for public or private use or enjoyment, or for the use and enjoyment of owners and occupants of land adjoining or neighboring areas and open space. That's not happening. Our trees are being destroyed. Vegetation is being destroyed. Vegetation is being cut to the quick. One of my fellow neighbors has photos of that. Tree limbs are broken off or sawed off or jumped on so that they can partly camouflage their shelters and so on. Another definition of open space means land and water areas which are retained in an essentially underdeveloped state and often serve one or more of the following uses: conservation of resources, ecological protection, recreation purposes, historic or scenic purposes, enhancement of community values and safety, maintenance of future land use. That's not occurring. It's completely unsafe. I don't deny we have a huge issue in the city, in our state, in our country, and around the world, but we do have proper ways in which to treat them. Incidents. We've had at least a minimum of 2 fires. Our Westminster Fire Department has been very responsive, and those are documented. I see indecent exposure on a weekly basis. And I guarantee right now, if I did what they do over there, you would have me hauled away. It's inequitable, it's wrong. We have children in our neighborhood, they see this. We have stolen property that's all over those fields, from grocery carts to umbrellas from retail establishments and so on. Safety. I used to be able to walk from my house to San Marino to visit with my great aunt and uncle. I won't even walk through the area anymore. It's that unsafe. When I do drive now or walk across Sheridan and over to 75th to get to my aunt and uncle's, and I'm outside with them, they're even actually literally coming over to the fence line and begging. You can see them walk from their encampments and come over and beg. I've talked to the San Marino establishment. I've talked to the ownership group, etc. There's loud yelling. There are people that come over into our neighborhood. There are aromas, often marijuana and other drugs. Many other people come and congregate near their fences. There's very, very questionable interactions with handoffs. Now you can predict or figure out what possibly those handoffs can be. Even the last cold spell we had when it was sub-zero, I mean, part of me thinks it's almost abusive for us as a city to allow that to happen when it's 5 below, 12 below with wind chill factor. It makes us almost complicit to the situation, knowing that it's there and really doing nothing about it. You have a woman that works in the department. She's not responsive to phone calls. She's not responsive to emails. Her supervisor always defends her. Reporting.
Your time's up.
I know. The rest of what I have here is printed out. I have a copy for each of you. There's several emails included from neighbors, not just in where do we live? Spanish Oaks, but in also the surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager, somebody will get back with him. And also we do have a graffiti hotline that is easiest to call directly to the officer that takes care of that. It's a very easy number. It's 303-706 and then 3333.
Funny that when I call the city, no one knows that number, gives it to me. Thank you.
The police department does have a new app, and if you have that up in the corner after you download it, it has a phone, and when you press that, it has all the direct lines so that you can get to people quickly. Thank you.
Next. Our next speaker is Sherry Mcnabb.
Hi, I too live at Spanish Oaks, and I see the same thing. I work downtown Denver. I see a lot of homeless down there. I have to catch the train there, and I really, it's hard for me to work down there and be around that because I won't even leave my building, but to come home and feel the same way that I can't leave my home to walk my dog. I'm afraid to go out at night. A lot of my neighbors who are elderly are afraid to go out. We've had people knocking on our doors at 3 o'clock in the morning or coming on our patios. We've had stuff stolen off our patios. I mean, it's a very scary situation. I walked and I've actually took pictures of the area. I mean, there's trash. I saw one of them digging a hole the other day. There's been one guy lit a fire. The fire department came, put it out, but you guys were supposed to remove them if they light fires or do something with them. But no, he was not removed. I actually drove around to all the open spaces in Westminster. Ours has everybody in it. It's like they move from that one to here. They get moved down to our area. That's what happens. They get removed from one and come down there. And it's not a good situation for a lot of the elderly communications that we have there. We have one that's across Sheridan. We have San Marino. And ours is basically a lot of the people there are elderly and they don't want to go outside. And I think that's terrible. So that's basically what I have. I also had one other issue. During the pandemic, I was having drug deals done outside my window. I would call the police department. By the time I was on the call, they were gone. And they said, oh, it's North Metro Drug Task Force problem. Call them. That's not how that should have been handled to me. I mean, I pay taxes. It should be Westminster Police Department that handles that. If they need to pass it off to somebody else, that's their job, not mine. You know, I try to help keep my community nice and safe. And it's very hard when you can't get the assistance you need from your city. So that's what I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Kathy Mallory.
Hello, I am Kathy Mallory. I'm a resident of the Spanish Oak subdivision or
condominium complex at the corner, we're at the corner of 73rd and Sheridan. Part of the reason I bought my condo where it is because of that open space. I'm a nature lover. I'm hiking in the mountains all the time. And the thought of having this beautiful, what used to be beautiful, open space with the trails, I was just totally enamored. And I've quit walking the trails because there's so much garbage. There's so many, mostly men, wandering around. They live in tents inside the tunnels that go underneath Sheridan. There's graffiti everywhere. There's so much garbage. There's a little stream that runs behind us. I used to see ducks and whatnot swimming in it, and now it's full of garbage. My biggest concern is safety. The garbage that is not being cleared away. In fact, this particular summer, we had nobody from Westminster City came and mowed it. It's becoming a fire hazard. And after what happened in Boulder County, and I'm originally from Northern California. I've lived through several major fires. Fire is unpredictable and deadly. And the thought of losing my condominium to a fire is literally terrifying to me because I see what's happening is going on in Boulder County. And I don't own the building, I own what's inside. And if my building burns down, then I'm homeless. And the complex of people moving into the open space, not only with their pollution, the going to the bathroom in the trees and garbage everywhere. They're growing. There's like 10 camps now, and it's like becoming like a megapolis out there in this open space. It used to be, I could see a fox or a skunk or some squirrels and ducks, and I don't see any of that anymore. And the tunnels and the bridges and everything that goes underneath, I think it's 75th. And Sheridan is just full of garbage and graffiti and debris, and so I've just quit walking, and I'm an avid walker and hiker all the time. And it's broke my heart that I don't feel safe in my own community. I have a little dog. I walk a lot. I walk him in my complex. The other night, like last week, I was out walking him, and there's flashlights in the open space. There's people out moving around, and I don't know what they're doing. I'm going to keep a positive thought that they're not going to do anything to hurt me, but it's a little unsettling to see flashlights out in the middle of an open field. And it just breaks my heart that it's turning into basically a dump. And I don't know why it's not being taken care of. If we're not going to take care of it, we need to sell it and do something with it, because letting people live in there in those kind of conditions is it's cruel. I don't know why they're there, what brings them there, but as a member of this community, it's just not right that people are living like that in this modern time and polluting everywhere. And I just want it to be cleaned up and open space be brought back again. So thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Carol Campbell.
Well, I feel almost bad I'm not talking about homeless, but good evening, Mayor McNally, Mayor Pro Tem DeMott, and city councilors. As you know, my name is Carol Campbell. You see me almost every week, it seems like. And I'm a 40-year resident of Westminster residing in Legacy Ridge. Tonight, I want to talk about two things. One, the proposed water rate changes. And secondly, the value that city public servants bring to the city and the role of elected leadership. First of all, I'm very concerned about Councilor's Bill number 13, as you know. The reason that Westminster came in thinking that they had a mandate to decrease the water rates, regardless of the need for a new water treatment plant. Council's previous 11022 decision eliminating the Tier 3 would cost the Westminster taxpayers $750,000 per year from reserves. And your present proposal, which I expect you to pass tonight, finalizes the 11022 decision, and it's going to end up costing $4.1 million in 22 from reserves, costing capital improvement funds to become deficit in 2023. The city will need to issue debt bonds of $254 million between now and 2032 to cover this water subsidy and to be able to build a 150 million water treatment plant. I don't know whether that's actually the cost, and neither do you. So we could be having a number that's wrong because we don't know what we're building. Rate changes, if any, are necessary should should wait until the reevaluation of your options in June. And that will provide a basis for your final decision that is a technical basis versus somebody just wants to do it. Between lost revenues, potential need for new construction plans, increased material costs due to delays in building this new facility, the decisions by the City Council to date will cost the Westminster taxpayers at least $5.2 million this year. It's hard to see how this proposed decision tonight meets the new council's adopted stewardship and thrift guiding principle of responsibly managing all of the city's resources to meet the needs of today without sacrificing the needs of the future. Secondly, I want to talk about city's public servants. I spent 33 years as a federal public servant. I expect career city employees are very similar to federal employees. They want to do a good job and they would like to stay employed. They will help you achieve your vision unless you're proposing to do something illegal. They would like to be heard and they will provide pros and cons of requested changes, and they can craft better solutions to your leader identified problems if given the opportunity. Public employees may be experts in their fields and have a wealth of experience that should be respected. I'm concerned that there is a lack of trust by the council and the city employees. This causes an unhealthy situation where many good employees may leave, causing the city difficulties in carrying out its mission. I would ask you to assume the best of the employees of the city and allow the city manager to do his job and not micromanage everything, as you are not the experts in everything the city does. You have those kind of people that work for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Chris Roper.
Good evening, everybody. I am Chris Roper. I'm with the group from Spanish Oaks. I've been a resident of Spanish Oaks for over 20 years. And I remember when there were two houses that were on that open space and they had horses and it was just really nice. And then I guess those people sold. And so there was a concern that land was going to be turned into commercial use or apartments or shopping centers. So at that point, the city stepped up and they said, hey, we'll make it an open space, which was outstanding. And it's been that way ever since. 2 summers ago, a homeless gentleman moved in and took over. And within a few weeks, the city came out and had him out of there and they mowed the field. Last year, they did not mow the field. And that gets to Kathy's point about the fire issue. We also have tumbleweeds the size of pine trees that blow into the project. What can I say? My concern is everything they've said, but my concern is what's going to happen next week. It's kind of gotten out that they can move in there and there isn't going to be any repercussions because the tents have grown in just the past month. We're up to about 8 or 9 tents. We're coming into the summer. I imagine there's going to be 20 tents before you know it. And then the sanitation issues. I live on the fence line. They are literally 10 feet from my front door. It's like, that's not right. I mean, they don't pay taxes. They're not taking care of the garbage, like they've mentioned. It's like, oh my God, every time a homeless person leaves, they leave everything. They never go to the trash can. Behind that shopping center, the Albertson Shopping Center, there was a homeless gentleman behind the Mexican restaurant. He moved out, and now there's a ton of crap that's still there. Months later, it doesn't get dealt with. And my point is, cut those trees down that those people are camping under. They'll move, I guess, because what they were talking about is they're using it as shelter. At least get a porta potty out there for crying out loud. Because the sanitation is, I can only imagine what it's like to be out there. And once they move out, there's going to be the garbage and there's going to be the pollution. That's not acceptable. If I had weeds in my yard that were a foot tall, the city would be putting a notice on my door that I'm in violation, but yet the city has this field that they're not taking care of. So if the city can't take care of this land and if you can't deal with this issue, sell the property to a private owner who then can call in for trespassing on that property. Because right now it seems like the city, in the last couple of years, they were blaming the COVID thing for not being able to do anything. But now we're kind of over that. So it's time to do something. Like I said, it's just growing and growing. And these guys are just, the panhandling, the crime. I've had my car broken into twice with valuables taken. The Walmart across the street, I can only imagine how many times they bust shoplifters. And then the drugs and the indecent exposure and all that kind of thing. I won't ride my bike, like Kathy was saying, under that 75th and Sheridan viaduct, because I don't know who's under there or what's going to happen. So I'm, just adding on to what they've said a little bit. It's just, it's growing, and I don't know how to stop it, or if you're addressing it in your little meetings, your private meetings, whatever, or what's going to happen, because something has to happen, because it's becoming downtown Denver. It's, there are others, and I understand that all cities struggle with this. And some cities are coming up with some creative ways to handle it. But I don't know, like I said, behind the scenes, if you all are dealing with those issues or what, but right now, it just seems like the city, for some reason, doesn't want to deal with it. And it is impacting, like I said, they're 10 feet from my house, from my front door. And that's scary. Anyway, I'm done.
Thank you.
They've said it all. Have a good day.
Thank you. The next speaker is John Palmer.
Good evening, all. A couple things I'd like to discuss tonight. First would be on your agenda, item 10A, Councilor Bill 15, in reference to the 11513A5 code. In the first statement of that code, it states one sign, at least one sign. Further in that code revision, it states two signs with an S being plural after it. The reason I bring this forward is if we get a developer that comes in and wants to develop a 100-acre lot, I don't think one sign would be sufficient as the code is currently written. I believe we need to look at that, possibly revise that before we take it in front of council this evening. Mr. Frankel? And along with that, how does this code change affect the other public hearing signs not related to land use? Has that been considered, or does this fold into that? Example would be the historic public hearings, the liquor board public hearings. Just how does that fold into this, or is that something totally separate? Next, let's talk about Councilor's Bill 1311A, the water rates. I've had several of my neighbors reach out to me that are Adams County residents, not officially Westminster residents, wanting to know how this affects their rates and their tier structure. It's never been publicized, and they're all concerned what's going to happen come June 1st. So if we could get some clarification on that, that would be appreciated. This afternoon on social media, I saw some from $5 to $10. I thought we were a nonprofit. Has the cost gone up 100% on a late fee? I thought we were trying to take care of our residents in this time of need and struggle moving through COVID. Possibly, could we look at that? Next thing I'd like to mention is over the past week, I've attended a couple of the online meetings. Not real happy with the team meeting format. When you're watching it, you can only see 2, maybe 3 people on the screen. You don't get full view of everybody that's in the screen. All you see is initials. Not like we've had in the past. I don't prefer it. I wish we would look at another option or go back to what we were using prior to this. As far as the homeless thing, I sympathize with these people wholeheartedly. And, recently the city of Aurora took that matter to task. And I believe they passed a no camping ban that took care of all of the homeless issues. And I know that's not fair to the homeless, but it's also not fair to the residents, homeowners, and stakeholders in the community to have to put up with what these people are currently dealing with. Perhaps that's something we need to take a look at. Okay. Well, rolling back to late fees just a minute. Is there some published number that the public can see how much we're profiting from the late fees and what that money actually goes for? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Dino Valente.
Good evening. Yes, David, I have shorts again. Mayor McNally, members of council, interim city manager. I don't think I did it right. I sent in some comments concerning item 10A, the notice. So I was able to make it out of work in time to come. I would like to encourage city council to table this item tonight and bring it back for a lot more discussion. I agree. There needs to be some major changes to how the city provides notice. I think it's inconsistent. It leads to confusion. We had lots of problems. Over the last 3 years, we had the big Uplands, Rose Hill, Pillar of Fire, you name it, whatever the name it was going by at the time development. Many hearings had to be changed because of damaged signs, improperly posted signs, etc. Neighborhood notices were not consistent. Who got mail, who didn't? Who set the 500-foot mark? Who was inside it? Was it an expanded range? Was it not? Throw in a pandemic and not so much so. It just was an absolute nightmare. Many of us who are impacted by that development finally gave up on the city, quite frankly, and went straight to the developer to get answers, find out how to get on the list, how to find out when things were going on. Some of the changes I would like to see you consider before moving forward with a notice. And I base these on having spent 10 years on a board of adjustment for Adams County, been around other stuff where I've seen how notice is given. There's a consistency and it continues throughout, even though my days doing that type of work are long over. I would like to see the city set the boundaries based upon a uniform set of principles. I'd like to see the city provide the list of who is in the boundaries based upon the most current records available. Typically, government, that's the city, has the better access to such information, far more so than the private sector. Have the city provide the list of HOAs, non-resident property owners, interested parties such as schools, utilities, etc. Those who have signed up to receive notice outside of the boundaries for that particular project, but who want to be notified of all projects in the city. The city do the mailings and postings, but pass along the cost to the applicant as part of the filing fees. I get it, there's a cost. Development is not cheap, especially in this city. Require as part of the case record the list of who was mailed so that those evaluating the case know who got notice. Make it part of the packet, make it an appendix. Require as part of the case record a map of where this notice was given. Where did you draw the 500-foot mark? If it took part of a neighborhood, did you include beyond that? I know, Ms. Nurmela, that's your wheelhouse. I'm sure you've done stuff like this in the past. I look to you for some leadership on this. Requires part of the case record a statement from the planning manager for the case that she or he provided the notice pursuant to the city code, stating, of course, the code, and show pictures of the postings of the signs. Where were they posted? Yes, we did this. requires part of the case a statement from the assigned city attorney that the attorneys reviewed the record for sufficiency and that proper notice has been given. This is done across multiple jurisdictions. I think Westminster's always been very lax. I think you have a real opportunity here to clean up a contentious part of how Westminster does business. I think one thing you'll find developers and residents who oppose each other on development and agreement of is that nobody knows how the city process is working. And it's time to clean it up. But I think what you have before you tonight puts way too much burden and responsibility onto the developer, which could be somebody just simply wanting to build a house, not a sophisticated multi-million-dollar developer, or it could be that sophisticated developer. But I don't think you get there with what's before you tonight, and I encourage you to table it and take it back and get some more feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's our final speaker.
Is there anyone else in the audience that maybe didn't have a chance to sign up that wants to speak? Come on down. We need your name, address, please.
My name's Carrie Hadamiel, and I live at 7720 Knox Court. Recently, on the 22nd of this last month, we were affected by the explosion of the house across the street from us. It was quite overwhelming, to say the least. But now, all of us on the block, at least towards the 72nd or 77th Avenue, have been affected by this explosion. And previous to this, the last year and the year prior to that, the city and county of Westminster are probably very much aware of the extent of debris that you guys have taken out of that home location. We're talking like dumpsters full of stuff, okay? Now, after this tragic incident happened, the debris from the home is now still in that area. You guys do have it fenced off. However, that is not stopping people from coming by, who are opening the gates, who are going into this debris, which is unsafe. It's bringing people from other areas, surrounding areas, to take a look at what has happened. And that also says that they're also going into the two houses across the street, because I live right across the street from there. They're entering these other people's homes and their property without their permission. They also have things probably still left in there, even though they're not allowed to live there, which I think is not safe. And in addition to that, the night before last, we've had people that are out there at 3:30 in the morning. Just, I don't know what they're doing, just 3:30 in the morning, staying there for hours, taking pictures, doing all kinds of different things. I have contacted the police department about this. They have come out on a couple of occasions. It's bringing unsafe people to our area. And in addition to that, the debris is now smelling. At night, it smells horrible. And my respiratory, I don't know what was in that house. I don't know what kind of building materials were there. But I do know that now they're stacked up to, I don't even know, 20 feet high. I just want to know when this is going to be taken care of. It's bad enough that we've had to go through this ordeal and having all of our homes damaged by this. We have contacted the city of Westminster over as many years as I've been here to do something about these homeowners. I'm actually the one that saved their house from burning last year. You guys boarded it up, and they continued to live in there. They took the boards down, and he continued to live in there. When is it going to stop? I'm asking you guys to help us help you. Please.
Thank you. We listen to testimony. We don't get involved in conversation, but because we don't have your phone number,
Yes.
if you'd go over to Miss Fitch over there and give it to you so somebody can get back in contact with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on down.
So name Amanda Marshall, address 7596 Stewart Street. I initially, is that all you needed from me? I initially came because of the homeless thing, so I'm glad you guys are on that. Thank you. Because, yeah, not cool. But also then I frequent the park, 108th and Sims, and I took a picture in case you guys want to see it. I'm just curious as to why you guys took away. The picture says, it's a trash can. Trash can be removed due to overfilling. Please use sustainable vault next to the kiosk. So they took the city took a picture of the trash being overfilled and took it away and said, go use the one trash can over by the kiosk. My question is, if it's being used, why take it away? That's it.
Thank you. And if you just give your phone number to Ms. Fitch so that somebody can get back a hold of you. Thank you. Anyone else? That brings us to report of city officials. City Manager Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Councilors. First, I would like to thank all the speakers who came tonight. We do listen to everything that you say, and for those of you seeking follow-up, we will follow up with you. So thank you for leaving your information with us. That's the primary purpose for that, just so we're able to follow up. I really do appreciate that. Mayor Pro Tem and Council, tonight before you is the second reading of Councilor's Bill number 15 to reduce water rates for all residential customers. Staff is prepared to implement these reductions effective June 1st. These changes will provide immediate financial relief for the community in time for irrigation season, while at the same time preserving the water utilities 10-year capital plan and the ability to meet the city's current and future water infrastructure needs. With Council's guidance and leadership supported by staff, the city was able to achieve this balance through extensive financial modeling and a lot of hard work. So thank you. We're prepared to make this change should you adopt this on second reading. Also before you tonight is item 10B, which seeks City Council's direction on an intergovernmental agreement with Highland Hills Park and Recreation District related to a property transfer. It's a complicated agreement, but the end result will be mutually beneficial to both Westminster residents and Highland Hills. Carol Butts Park will be improved and the city will take over more of the MAC under its direct control, which opens up some exciting possibilities for our community. There's another item on the agenda tonight, 10E, that is a contract to add a second sidewalk connection to the RTD bus stop at the northwest corner of US 36 and Church Ranch Boulevard. This project leverages federal and state grant funding to significantly improve walkability and better serve residents who use the Flatiron Flyer. It will also improve safety for pedestrians and cyclists using the 36 bikeway at the intersections on and off ramps. Next, I would like to acknowledge specifically the increasing concerns we are hearing from our community related to homelessness. And I thank our friends in Spanish Oaks for coming and taking the time tonight to speak to us about that. Changes in our neighboring cities and across the Front Range are impacting us quickly and noticeably. Staff is taking this issue very seriously, and we have initiated a multi-department citywide effort to respond. In fact, next Monday night, staff will be presenting an update to City Council and facilitating a discussion on what we are actively doing and on next steps. Finally, I would like to thank Chief Hubbard and the sworn and professional staff in the Westminster Police Department for welcoming me and Deputy Opie to your roll calls. It's very important that we hear from you directly and that you know we value you and the work that you do for our community. It's clear from our conversations that you take pride in what you do and that we want you to know that we value you and the work that you do for our community. Included in tonight's agenda is a progress report that recaps the work we have been doing in this regard, and I assure you that we will continue to do everything we can to make sure you feel heard, respected, and supported. With that, Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Baker?
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to thank the people from Spanish Oaks, because too many times in conversations held, there are all these advocates displaying their passion and their virtue and their concern for the homeless. And the voices who remind them of the cost of their compassion are absent or very lonely. It takes bravery to come down. It takes bravery to go against the party line. And you made an excellent point about service. This is public service. Being open 5 days a week is pretty basic. And yet the trend in government is to go to 4 days. Now, if we were a factory making something and we had a quota to produce, if we could do it in 3 days, what the heck? But we're a service organization. I worked most of my life in a service organization, and we were open 7 days a week. And part of it was open 24 hours a day. And it's good to be reminded that we're a service organization and we're public servants, because I think that is sometimes ignored. And it just makes me disappointed about all the burnt out and blown up houses that it seems like we can't do anything about. I mean, there's one up in Highlands Green on Wolf Street that's been that way for a couple years. There's the Pizza Hut on Sheridan that's been that way. I guess the house that blew up, it's been an eyesore for 3 or 4 years. And we don't do anything. At a meeting the other night, I asked about whether we enforced our occupancy rules. And it took a couple questions to get the plain English language answer that, no, we haven't prosecuted any house for violating occupancy for 3 years. Well, if we have rules but don't enforce them, or even worse, selectively enforce them, we're not doing our jobs. Thank you, guys.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, everybody who came out to speak to us tonight. It's always good to hear from the public and share your concerns so that we can do our best to address them. A couple of things I wanted to share with the community and the council. As you know, I'm the liaison to the Rocky Mountain Roundtable that is dealing with trying to figure out ways that we could potentially do abatement of some of the sound and other concerns from the Rocky Mountain Airport. Recently, council had approved some additional monies to go into that group, as did some of our neighboring communities who participate in that. Today, Boulder County and Louisville both raised concerns about the group that was looking to do the work. And that group basically was a consultant group who had experts in the aviation industry that was going to help us figure out ways that we could potentially work with the airport and the FAA to figure out how to address the concerns of the community. So where that is now, between the concerns raised today, is that it sounds like they may put that back out to RFP, so that is basically on hold until, as well as there were some communities who hadn't funded their piece of it yet. So I know that the community certainly has spoken loudly that they would like to look at options. And we know that's a challenging thing because it's in a lot of ways outside of our control. So it was kind of, in my opinion, disappointing that we're now on pause because it's taken a long time. I think that roundtable has been going for more than a year. And this was going to be their first substantial actual action to try to figure out what we could do to address the community's concerns. I did want to address some of the things that Councilor Baker just spoke about and a lot of the residents spoke about as far as the homes. I know a couple of those since I've been on council have come up multiple times and we've tried to address them with the city. And I want to be clear that I'm glad there's always opportunity for us to do better and work together. But I also want to be at least share that it's difficult because there's property rights that go into that. So as much as a lot of times the city would love to do something, sometimes it's the court where things are tied up. A couple of the properties that I heard about, I know for a fact are tied up in the courts. So I think it's at least fair to staff, council, and the community that you all understand some of the hardships around that. Homelessness there's a lot of the same things. There's a lot of things that have happened in court, like panhandling, for example. There's a lot of First Amendment rights around it. So we certainly, in our strategic planning, if you had an opportunity to listen to it, if you didn't, you can go back on our YouTube and listen to it. But those are all areas that this council has agreed are priorities going into this next year. If you've paid attention, the council has had a big change. And I, normally I wouldn't share this much during our time, but there's so many new faces. I think it's good for you to hear because hopefully you tell your neighbors. But those are priorities that we've made. Graffiti, that's another one, a priority that Mayor McNally, when she was on council before, that they addressed. And, we've kind of regressed as a city, and that's something that this council has said is a priority. And so I'm glad to hear, though, that we're on the right track, obviously, because some of the things on our priority list, we've heard several people speak about tonight. So I appreciate you all coming out and addressing that. The last thing, just in case you don't hang around and you spoke about water before we get to that point, I would reiterate what I said last week. This has been a collaboration between a lot of different views in the community, working with staff, and staff coming up with a really good recommendation that does look to our future, as well as where we're at now and provides relief. So I'm actually pretty proud of the work that they've done on that. I appreciate that the community is not taking its eyes off of it, and I would ask that you keep your eyes on it. And hopefully in 12 months, you'll see some of the success from staff's hard work. So again, I appreciate everybody who came tonight and spent your Monday night with us, because I'm sure you could have found 100 other ways that would have been more exciting.
Anyone else? Councilor Azadi, I don't know if you have anything to say.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So I'm sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I'm working hard in Washington, D.C. right now. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be representing Westminster at the National League of Cities Congressional Conference. This is an annual conference that seeks to influence federal policy and drive innovative solutions by learning from other cities across the country. So there's about 2,000 elected officials, city electeds here in DC, and we are all learning from each other on how we can take advantage of each other's innovation, but also of federal funding for our needs here in Westminster. So I'm learning a wide variety of important insights related to water infrastructure and the importance of having a resiliency plan. So many cities are saying this, that they have a specific resiliency plan, which is very interesting to me. It's inclusive of climate action, of public health, of equity. I'm learning about housing and about all the multiple factors related to homelessness and how cities can respond, such as directing resources to assisting people to move out of encampments and into safe, quality, and affordable housing. I'm learning about what other cities are doing for community and economic development, which is a very fascinating topic here, and many cities are very excited about that. and much more. So today was particularly excellent because I joined a session that was focused on water infrastructure funding opportunities. So I had the opportunity to speak one-on-one with federal staff at the EPA regarding the new bipartisan infrastructure law. And I learned the process and the amount of money. So right now, there's $43 billion that was allocated to states. Colorado just turned on about 121 million in January. And so basically the federal government provides the dollars. We as a city, we need to sit down with the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund and put together an application to submit that for this funding. So they rank out application across all the cities, they score it, they put us on a list of other projects, and we go through a review. So environmental review, financial review, and then we close on a assistance agreement. But basically this funding is available to us, has always been, but there's a lot more money injected via this bipartisan bill, infrastructure bill. So it's a huge opportunity. I'm sure staff is on it, but Jody, if we're not, I think a lot of cities are now turned on to it, right? And there's going to be a lot of attention paid to this. So I think that this is an opportunity for us to seek the funding. They could cover all of our Semper treatment plant needs, or some, depending on the need. So I think if we can combine this with the audit that we're doing, that's coming due in June, where we find out what we actually need to do, I think right now is a good opportunity to meet with the state and to see what we can do. But yeah, I'm just I'm learning a lot, and I'm planning on writing a report, Mayor, for next week and sending out to council from all the learnings that I'm having here.
Thank you. Anyone else? I had a busy week, so let me share that. Last week, the North Metro mayors and commissioners, Northwest mayors and commissioners, who have been a group along US 36 going from here to Longmont and everything in between, held their visit to DC virtually. So there were days I was on the phone with representatives. We were with the rail folks, with the highway folks, every representative that represents us in Colorado. And we would go from 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. We'd take a break, do 1 to 2, 2 to 3. So we did that for 5 days. We met, and our highest priorities and here's the good thing about working with this many cities, working for over 20 years together as one voice. They know us in DC with the Coalition for the Roads piece that we do, and it's for bikes, rail, and for highway. The main piece this year is Highway 119, the diagonal going from Boulder to Longmont. They're trying to get a BRT system where the bus doesn't have to go from shoulder back into lanes, but they would ride along where they can easily get off on the left-hand side, have people get on the bus, and then go on down the highway. So they're not having to do the dance that they do. And I'm accused of making up a dance when we were dealing with this with US 36, because our buses go from the right-hand lane, pick up people, and to get into that toll lane that's for buses, which is the BRT lane, they have to go through 3 lanes. So it gets a little rougher, and so it'll be different for the 119. The second corridor is looking at Highway 7 and Highway 287, because those are all corridors that our citizens, the citizens in Broomfield, Lafayette, Superior, Boulder, all use to get to their workplaces. And so we do have a $25 million grant in the race funds that we're trying to get a hold of. We do have 125.6 million in money to go for one of our projects that's going to be $250 million. And you always have to show how much you have in the game before the feds will give you any money. They don't give you anything for free. So you have to be able to show you've cobbled things together and here's what you have to bring to the table, and then they'll decide what they bring to the table. So that was my last week, just to bring you up on your roads and highways and bus systems and rail. We talked to the rail group and looking at both the Front Range Rail and Amtrak. We need the Northwest Rail finished. When you look at the gas prices today and what they may be, those corridors that have the rail will be packed probably with people instead of going in people's cars. And right now we have only the bus system. So we talked with them. We're ready to sit down and talk with them. And RTD was on those calls because we don't do anything without RTD. Your tax money is going for that Northwest Rail that hasn't been built, and it has been there since 2004 when you passed it. So we remind everybody that you're still paying, and all you've received is fast bus lanes. So just know you are represented on that item. Then we had Thursday night, your entire city council met here upstairs, and we had an executive session to interview 3 firms to begin this search for a city manager. We met, and afterwards, we didn't take a vote. We will, I'm hoping, get to do that March 28th. But I did select somebody. We all talked about who we liked, who we could work with, and there was some consensus there. No vote taken. It will be taken, I'm hoping, March 28th at our next council meeting. We're working towards that. Today, I did talk to the search firm that will be doing it and said, can you start the process with a good faith that we are going to have this contract signed? And so people above me that have to write those checks and whatnot talked it all through. And I know our city attorney, Mr. Frankel, is involved in all of that. So we're making everything work, and they are very generous to get it started. So my first mission after getting off the phone today was to get an email out to all 6 counselors and myself to get the person that is going to be doing the interviews some times that they have in the next 10 days so that one-on-one meetings can go on with each counselor. After that's done, I've also asked for each person to give me some names of community leaders, business people that they would like to have this person also interview. And those things can be going on now. So once he gathers all that information, they will come back to us and we will sit down to look at the brochure that we're going to all put together of what do we want in the next city manager, what are the qualities, all of those things. And the great news is we are going to, in the next few days, put something on the website, and we will start putting down the different dates where we're at, what we're doing, what's maybe the next step, so you can follow us. So if you aren't here in a meeting to hear an update, you'll know what's coming next. We're certainly going to be talking to them about what do we want to do? Do we want to have community meetings? Do we want focus groups? There's all sorts of things he's given us to think about. But I told him today, he said, well, how fast do you want to do it? I said, I'm not about fast. I think we're about setting the groundwork that will make a stable base. And that's talking to people, getting information, and then we start building upon that. I have no vision of this has to be done by a certain date. I said, the key is knowing what we want, knowing what to ask for, knowing for the people that will be applying that they know what we're looking for, and then getting those applications in and scrutinizing and get the very best possible person we can get. So he's sort of out there. Don't hold anyone to this, but he's looking at, and I think this is bad as I was driving here tonight, because we have the Sparkler event every year at this time. He won't have a hotel anywhere in the metro area around July 4th. So his second thought was after July 4th, which I think will be a better fit. But we will be diligent. We will keep you informed where we're at. We will keep you informed what's happening. And so I'm excited about that. My sad point was I was contacted by Metro Mayor's group. It was Monday or Tuesday last week, and the state legislature is putting some things together around bus fares for RTD, because as you know, with COVID and everything, some of the bus fares are down. They're worried about greenhouse gas in the summer. Some of the thoughts coming up were on high pollution days, it would be a free day. Well, then you ask the question, how's anybody going to know when that free day is? How far ahead are they going to know? It's chaos. So the next thing that came out was, let's make, June, July, August are the ozone days usually that we're told it's red or orange or whatever. So they thought if we made a whole month, and that's going to cost $28 million for RTD, so the state legislature would have to put that in the budget to reimburse RTD. And so we were asked to sign on. And so I put that email out, and I want Mr. Frankel to remind us, we aren't taking votes in those. We're taking polls, and we always come back and share whatever we needed to take a poll for state legislature or something like this, because we're needing an answer quicker than we have a meeting. Is that legal?
Thank you, Mayor. Dave Frankel, City Attorney. So yes, City Council can, pursuant to your legislative protocols, poll one another to see if the city can take a position on a pending matter that is time sensitive, particularly where it's outside the policymaking responsibilities or powers of this local public body. So this specific question is whether or not the state should reimburse RTD for fares. That's an area that the City of Westminster will not be regulating or legislating. So I believe it is a clean subject for city council members to poll one another, take a position. Certainly you could follow up on a Monday night and talk about the position that was taken, so desired. Yes.
So with that, I put out my questions. I got 6 answers, and it was 3-3. So without that 7th person answering, I kept getting calls, and I said, I can't tell you we are in favor of it. I can't tell you we aren't in favor of it, because we only had 6 people voting. So I just raised that because it frustrates me. And the letter went out without our name or an answer as to where we truly were. And that's my report. Seeing nothing else, that brings us to, sorry, my computer went dead. That brings us to consent agenda. Is anyone requesting to take this item off the agenda? Councilor Seymour? Okay, then a motion. Councilor Seymour?
Thank you. I'm moved to adopt the consent agenda item 8A.
It's been moved and seconded to pass second reading, Councilor's Bill number 14. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Baker? Roll call, please.
Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem DeMott.
Yes.
Councilor Emmons.
Yes.
Councilor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Councilor Nermella.
Yes.
And Councilor Seymour.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to item 10A, Councilor's Bill number 15. Mayor Pro Tem.
I hope I'm doing this correctly, but I would actually like my colleagues to consider tabling this.
Second.
We have a motion to table item and a second to table Councilor's Bill number 15. Discussion, please. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Full disclosure, I came here prepared to pass this tonight. I know we've given a substantial amount of feedback on this. I will say some of the ideas that were passed on this have my interest piqued, that potentially those could improve the process. And the whole purpose of this is to improve the process. Specifically, I served on the special permits and licensing board for years before being elected. One of the things that they do whenever you go request a liquor license is they do a poll and they go out in the community. And one of the things that is presented back to that board is a list of here's the community members, business and residents, and the replies that they gave, if they gave any. I know we do that with a third party group that we've been doing it with for years. And they also showed the boundaries in which those are put out. So I know we've done a substantial amount of talk in the last 2 years since Councilor Seymour and Emmons have been on the board about notification. And so to me, it seems like that those are probably some things that hopefully we could tackle easy that would make this that much better, and opposed to passing this now and then doing that. That's my thought about why I would like to table this. I would be open to hearing if the city manager or staff has any comments about doing that, or if it holds anything up that's vital, or if potentially that's something that we could look at.
Counselor Andrews, Counselor City Manager Andrews. Promoted. I demoted you. Sorry.
Wait a minute. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you to our speaker tonight, Mr. Valenti. We can certainly table a list tonight if council so desires, and have a look at some of those suggestions that were raised tonight, and then bring it back to council and speak to some of those additional ideas that were raised. So that would be a value add for us.
I'm just final thought. I mean, I appreciate all the input that's been put into this. I know Mr. Palmer has come and spoke about this probably at least a dozen times, and we have made, and I thank staff because we've made a lot of improvements. Staff has been specifically in reference to some of the things that were in every do right issues with the way we were doing posting. So I appreciate what you're saying, and so I guess I'll leave it to the rest of my colleagues to see what your vote is, but I would like to table this and have it brought back.
Counselor Namella?
I also had some issues with this one, so I'm kind of glad to have it tabled and maybe reevaluated. I think that just in the order, not in any particular order, I think Mr. Palmer had a good idea regarding, and a good point regarding the number of signs for a site. So if we could look at an equivalent to some type of acreage amount, when we'd have to go to the next level of having 2, 3, whatever signs. Regarding the size of the signs, I think they're a little on the large size. So just think about the what's a kind of a typical size that would be easy enough to be able to produce at a sign shop. 5 feet by 4 feet is kind of large, and maybe, if we want it like 5 feet wide, maybe it's 3 feet, just for printing purposes. Just be thinking about what makes sense. Let's see. So the other thing that I had pause over was having the applicant produce the signs. I'm more of a control freak regarding just what we would want to be able to ensure is consistent. Maybe it is more of a, I think Mr. Valenti had mentioned this, maybe it's more of a, additional fee if we don't already charge a fee. Open to hearing whether or not other cities actually have the applicants post or not, but I'm not overly familiar with that approach. So those are the things that I'd like to have looked at.
Counselor Emmons?
Yes, reason for tabling, and to be transparent as well, I was moving to this tonight to actually vote on and not table. But there are a couple of things that had come up for me in what I would bring forward tonight was I'd like us to officially announce what our official newspaper is for the city. I didn't see that in the staff report. So that needs to be defined as far as Westminster Window, Denver Post, or any other official posting. So that was one of them. And then the number of signs and where they're posted, just getting our heads wrapped around the specifics on that. I also, regarding size, I want us to consider one, ADA for people walking by. And two, I'd also like us to consider, and I was trying to look it up prior and then I got busy and forgot to even look it up. But what the standard is for a traffic sign moving by, because a lot of times people drive by and not walk by. And so if they're able to see that it's a public notice for a hearing, I would want to have those printed in the fact that someone driving by can see it. So what's the standard traffic size on a sign such as that? And then this was brought up, I want to say that I helped champion this, but I don't know, it took 4 people to get here. But it originally was 350 feet radius from the posting for sending out notices to homeowners and property owners. And it got moved to 500. And I'd just like us to maybe as a council discuss if that's still appropriate for a 500 radius for that posting. And I do like that the liability is on the developer. I realize that it sounded like there was both ends tonight as far as where the liability should lay. But I like the liability and the burden to be on the developer on meeting those qualifications. And actually, I think Mr. Valente had mentioned one of them where we set the standard and then we ensure that it's followed up and followed through with. So those are the items that I would like to see in our discussion moving forward. But I would like to table along with Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilor Baker?
It is my understanding of Robert's Rules of Order, there are 3 things we can do on this. We can, 1, not even make a motion. We can make a motion and it got not seconded, then it dies. Or we can make a motion to put the bill in discussion, and that needs a second. And then a second motion to table it with a second, and then we vote on the second. But technically, the bill's not even in motion. So I guess our attorney will be the parliamentarian.
Mayor, if I could agree with Councilor Baker. So I believe the first motion that would be appropriate would be a motion to act on this bill. And then if a motion to table received a second, then you could table as a body. So a majority could table it. But that would be the second motion made beyond the first that Councilor Baker's identified.
So disqualify the first motion?
Yes, I would
Throw it out?
invite a new motion to consider item 10A on tonight's agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem.
They have to burn their notes. Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Council Bill number 15 on first reading to approve the proposed amendments to section 11-5-13A, public hearings for land development approvals of Westminster Municipal Code regarding the posting of public hearing signs and mailing of public hearing notices.
Councilor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 15. Mayor Pro Tem.
I would request that we table this.
Move to table.
Listen to you, all details tonight.
Councilor Emmons.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table. Now, do we need a third one to discuss?
Pardon, you can call the question as far as the motion to table the item.
And nobody else can speak?
If others want
I
to
just know
speak.
Counselor Izadi isn't here, so I don't know if he has something to say or not.
Sure.
And, well, I would, but I don't want to be out of order, Mr. Baker. Counselor Izadi, do you have anything to say?
No.
Thank you. There's a motion to table and a second. All those, oh, does it have to be roll call? Roll call.
Excuse me. Mayor Pro Tem Demott,
Yes.
Counselor Emmons,
Yes.
Counselor Azadi,
Yes.
Mayor McNally,
Yes.
Counselor Nermella,
Yes.
Counselor Seymour,
Yes.
and Counselor Baker.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
And we need a 5-minute break. Okay, that brings us to Resolution 11. Counselor Seymour.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 11 to authorize the interim city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Westminster and Highland Hills Park and Recreation District for the exchange of ownership interest in real property and buildings.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass resolution number 11. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Emmons,
Yes.
Counselor Azadi,
Yes.
Mayor McNally,
Yes.
Counselor Nurmela,
Yes.
Counselor Seymour,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to resolution 12. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 12, approving the city's revised mission statement, vision statement, and guiding principles.
Counselor Emmons.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass resolution number 12. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Azadi,
Yes.
Mayor McNally,
Yes.
Counselor Nurmela,
Yes.
Counselor Seymour,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott,
Yes.
and Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to item D. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move based on the recommendation of the city manager to determine the public interest will be best served by authorizing a sole source agreement with Stryker Medical Corporation for a purchase not to exceed $125,000 annually for the calendar years 2022, 2023, and 2024.
Counselor Seymour.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 10D. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor McNally,
Yes.
Counselor Nurmela,
Yes.
Counselor Seymour,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott,
Yes.
Counselor Emmons,
Yes.
and Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
Counselor Emmons.
I move to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with KECI Colorado Incorporated in the amount of $278,650 for the construction of the US 36 Bike Path Connection Project and authorize a construction contingency in the amount of $30,000 for a total authorized expenditure not to exceed $308,650.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass number 10E. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Nurmela,
Yes.
Counselor Seymour,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott,
Yes.
Counselor Emmons,
Yes.
Counselor Azadi,
Yes.
and Mayor McNally.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to 11A, Councilor's Bill 13. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 13 on second reading, implementing water rate adjustments for 2022 by amending sections 8-7-7 of Westminster Municipal Code.
Councilor Seymour.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 13. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Seymour,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott,
Yes.
Counselor Emmons,
Yes.
Counselor Azadi,
No.
Mayor McNally,
Yes.
and Counselor Nurmela.
No.
The motion passes on a 5-2 vote.
That brings us to reason for an executive session.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposed executive session for this evening is to consult with the city attorney regarding the legal issues associated with collective bargaining and to discuss the city's position on issues subject to formal negotiation and the progress and status of collective bargaining negotiations pursuant to Westminster Municipal Code 111.3 C7, 8, and CRS 246402.4B and E1.
I will poll council to make sure that you want to go into executive session. Councilor Baker?
Yes.
Councilor Seymour?
Yes.
Councilor Emmons?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Councilor, or Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Nabella?
Yes.
Councilor Azadi?
Yes.
Okay, we will be in executive session and this meeting is adjourned.